Hello everyone, this is Shivateja here, Chartered Accountant. Well friends, we all know that today's date, the greatest revolution and the greatest innovation in tax, that is combination of all the indirect taxes, and government is trying to roll out GST, that is goods and service tax, from 1st July. Well friends, we all know that earlier, prior to the introduction of GST, as on today's date, we have various kind of indirect taxes like entertainment tax, luxury tax, we have VAT for intrastate sale of goods, GST for interstate sale of goods, and for services we have service tax, for manufacture we have excise duty, and we have various amount of taxes for different kinds of purposes. And government is trying to merge all these taxes so that there will be one tax which will simplify the whole job and process for everyone, and that tax is being named as goods and service tax. Now, what is the first benefits of this GST and how GST is going to work? What is the system of GST? Let's try to understand that first, why GST is coming into picture and what is the benefit of it, and till date what has happened with regard to GST. Friends, first when we try to examine why do we need GST? Why do we need GST? As on today's date, since we have so many types of indirect taxes, there is tremendous amount of confusion to understand which tax is being levied at which stage. And the biggest concern what we have on today's date is something like this. That is, whatever inputs and whatever outputs are there in today's date, on input if we have paid VAT, and on output if we are paying some other tax. For example, I took some input goods on which I paid some VAT, and output I am rendering some services on which I am going to pay service tax. There is no facility in the law as on today's date to take credit of that VAT and set off against service tax. Other words, VAT used to be set off always against VAT, service tax only with service tax, excise only with excise. So there was no question of cross utilization of credit, which was a major concern which a lot of us were facing, and this added up to our cost. This added up to our cost which we used to pass on to our final consumer. Now, with GST in place, what is going to be the greatest advantage? Advantage number one, which is one of the beautiful thing happening, is since GST is being charged, there is no bifurcation between service tax and value added tax. So for that matter, whatever you pay as input, you can take credit and set off against your output. That's a beautiful thing what is happening. And number two, when we talk about cross-state transactions, for example, if a person is in Telangana, he is selling goods to a person in another state, that is Maharashtra. Output what he is going to pay is GST. There is nothing but central sales tax when goods are being sold from one state to another state. And let us say for a second, if I purchase some goods within the state, that is, let us say within Telangana state, what I am going to pay is input VAT. And when I sell the same goods outside the state, that is to a person in Maharashtra, what I am ending up paying is GST. And the biggest problem in that is, the other person, the other party who is in Maharashtra, who is buying that specific goods from me, he is not able to take the input tax credit because that GST has been paid to Telangana state but not to Maharashtra state. That is one very big major challenge what we have on today's date with regard to current tax structure. And once this GST is in place, the beautiful two things which are going to happen is, number one, cross utilization of credits. Number two, the state, there is no going to be border as such, and any person in any state can do the business in some other state, and things can go beyond cross-border state transaction, which is something really awesome and one of the finest thing which is happening in GST regime. Now, coming to the GST framework, how is it going to work? Friends, we have seen a lot of hoardings, posters, TV news, TV channels everywhere saying that one nation, one tax, one nation, one tax, one nation, one tax. But let me tell you, it's a myth which is being going on. Of course, it's just one tax, that is GST. But let me honestly tell you guys, if a person in Telangana state is selling goods to another person in Telangana state, that is intra-state transactions, government is running a structure of dual GST. That is, they are going to charge CGST as well as SGST. The rates are going to be finalized very soon. But government has a plan of action wherein, if let us say the rate is turning out to be around 18%, government is trying to fix 9% CGST and 9% SGST. That's a plan of action what they are trying to do. So that center will take their share, state will take their share. And this GST structure is more to do with the consumption oriented structure. That is the state in which goods are being consumed. That state is basically going to take that SGST component. And at the same time, what they have told us, if goods are being sold from one state to another state, that is, a person in Telangana state is selling goods to a person in, let us say, Andhra Pradesh or person in Maharashtra, government is going to charge something called IGST. That IGST is nothing but integrated GST, and the rate of this IGST is going to be a combination of CGST as well as SGST. That is, the effective rate of IGST is equal to the rate of CGST plus the rate of SGST. That's how IGST is going to be charged. And government also clarified very clearly that even in the case of stock transfers, which a lot of people keep trying to do just a stock transfer or a branch transfer or something like that, even in that cases, law told the concept of GST would attract. Because of a small reason, because GST is not concerned with the sale, GST is concerned with supply. Supply of any goods or services, supply. This word supply has a very wider impact than the word called sale. So supply has a very great impact. And what they have also clarified recently is that in GST, all the products are going to come under purview of GST except alcohol, petrol products as well as electricity. But they have also clarified saying that petrol products are kept outside GST for the time being. So it's highly possible that in the long run, petroleum products like crude oil, high-speed diesel and all this kind of things might come back to GST very soon again. We just have to wait and see. And a small greatest thing to understand here is, my dear friends, they gave a small benefit something like this, that for a person whose turnover is not more than 20 lakhs in a financial year, 20 lakhs in a financial year, he is not required to obtain registration and is not required to pay GST. And the limit is not 20 lakhs, limit is 10 lakhs for some northeastern states and all. They gave a lower threshold for these northeastern states. And coming back to another interesting point there, friends, they also gave a scheme called composition scheme, wherein they told if a turnover during the preceding financial year does not exceed 50 lakhs, the assessee can opt for a composition scheme wherein he will be required to pay tax at a lower percentage. But of course, he cannot take any input tax credit and he cannot collect the amount of composition tax from the customer. So there's going to be a big amount of difference for the person who is under composition scheme. And one big question which keeps coming up every time is, who is going to control the assessee, whether central or the state? Of course, two persons controlling us, we are not okay with that. So government gave a small clarification saying that for assessees whose turnover is not more than 1.5 crore, 90% of them will be controlled by the state and 10% of them will be controlled by the center, which is going to be randomly picked up by the system, which we have to wait and see whom will be controlled by. And for those assessees whose turnover is more than 1.5 crore, they clarified that 50% of the people will be controlled by central, 50% people will be controlled by state. So it's randomly picked up by system. It's purely system driven where you have to see who is going to control the assessee. So as on today's date, the migration process is going on and July 1st seems to be a possible date, and BJP is going to try to bring this greatest tax regime, that is goods and service tax. Of course, the rates are yet to be finalized. Very soon the meeting is going to be held with regard to the concept of GST rate, but as of now they only gave some tiers and structures, that is 0%, 5%, 12%, 18%, 28%, and these kind of rates have been given, some slabs have been fixed. But which product, which rate has not been finalized till date. We just have to wait and see how GST is going to run. But of course, friends, all said and done, even though there are some issues, even though there are some points which are still being considered, it's all said and done. GST is one of the greatest reform which is being done in India, and let's all wait for it. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Like and subscribe Eagle Media Works.